I tried to tell y'all Katie Miller was on some fuck shit and that Stephen Little Bitch Miller was about to get humbled with a lot of Eric Swalwell. So it's hard to imagine thinking less of somebody like Katie Miller or Stephen Miller or Eric Swalwell, but somehow they always manage to really just kind of dig themselves deeper. So when I first dropped this story, it came from the Source Says, and you guys demanded more info. You demanded proof, evidence. Well, we got that for you here. So stick around. I'm going to show you my interview the morning after this story dropped with the source, straight from the source. And you can watch us go through questions and hear more about how this all came about. Trigger warning, it involves Stephen Miller and Eric Swalwell and Katie Miller. Take caution and take care while listening. And if you're new here, I'm Loren Piretra. Willa Piretra and I, we do this every single day out of pure principle. And as an effort to keep you safe from Stephen Little Bitch Miller and to keep our lead on Katie Miller, which is so wide, I can't ever imagine that ever changing, but could never be too wide, really. So make sure you subscribe. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us wherever you watch and listen. This is an independent, network-free, bootstrapped, one woman and senior dog with chronic illness show. So leave us a 5-star rating, comment 6 words or more, and we'll be back. I want to introduce you guys to our special guest who's going to be joining in just a second. She's in the wait room, but we have JulieGrace, who is a Capitol Hill reporter and somebody who really knows all the tea in Washington. She's a graduate of American University and Georgetown University, and she has a reputation for making even the tightest-lipped sources spill all the tea. So her reporting has appeared in 24/7.News, CBS, New York Magazine, Quincy News, and she's previously held positions at the Daily Caller, the Daily Beast, Axios, the Washington Examiner, New York Post, and The Hill. So sources trust her. They love talking to her, and she has 1.7 million readers on average. Hooray! Okay, JulieGrace, thanks so much.
So excited to be here. How was all the good collab with the fellow blonde?
Yes, right? Fellow blondes who love to talk a little tea. So are you joining us from New York, DC?
DC.
Where are you? Okay, cool. So you broke the story, came out yesterday. Tell us the tea. Tell us all about it.
This is a wild one. So like I feel like all my sources in DC just like know I love all the crazy. So I feel like anytime there's anything really wild, I feel like I get a million text messages. It takes some time to kind of suss what's actually real out. But a couple weeks ago, I was chatting with the source, and it was brought up that Katie Miller, back when she was an intern, so this was years before Stephen, but had a thing with Eric Swalwell. So there was talk. Kash Patel was pushing back in March to release all the files on the whole Fang Chinese spy situation, which from what I've heard, the actual files themselves aren't that juicy, but we'll see if they actually leak out, which the rumor has it that those might be coming in coming days. We'll see. But
okay.
We had someone from his team go to DOJ back when it was still under Pam Bondi, and essentially was like, well, this could be weaponization and seen as targeting because of my past relationship, or whatever you call it at the time, with Katie Miller, which, I mean, of strange bedfellows I just didn't see coming. And when I heard that, I was like, that can't be true. And then here it is. It is actually true. Yeah, they did have a thing back in the day.
Yeah. And, you know, to play devil's advocate, I kind of could see it because somehow I think the worst people ever always somehow manage to find one another. So I feel like they're kind of a perfect match, especially, you know, since all the Eric Swalwell stuff finally came out and people were finally ready to listen to what a predator he's been. I know I heard about the Fang stuff pretty quickly after. I was one of the first, if not the first creator to interview him after he announced his gubernatorial race. And I was like, I'm going to interview him, but this is not an endorsement. You got to earn that. And I also at the time didn't really like interviewing electeds because I was a smaller creator back then, still am relatively small in the grand scheme of things. So I didn't have the credibility or established reputation in the field yet to start asking like really the hard questions. So it usually always ends up being like a puff piece of sorts. But as soon as I had met with Eric Swalwell and did that interview and shared that I was going to be having this conversation with my audience, the DMs kept flooding in from people who are very under the radar, who work in DC, are staffers on the Hill or adjacent to the Hill, who just were like, girl, can I call you? And then sent me all the things and told me about the Fang situation. So maybe, do you know much more about it? Do you want to kind of give a summary of the Fang of it all?
Because like Republicans took him off of the Intel committee, and the Democrats were like, he'd been cleared of wrongdoing. But essentially, it had a relationship of an alleged Chinese spy, Christine Fang, that better known as Fang Fang. In I guess all the papers out there, I feel like that really kind of became like a tabloid go-to while Republicans were attacking him back in the day. But I mean, I feel like as far as like the assault allegations and everything, I mean, I covered him for a long time. I feel like there was a poorly kept reputation of him being flirtatious and stepping out on his wife and whatnot. But I mean, I will say I was surprised at the extent of like the rapey allegations when they came out. Like I knew the reputation, but yeah, it was sad to kind of see those girls' stories, and I feel like they're very brave for coming out to that on that, because I know how hard it is for people that have dealt with that to be able to come out. But I mean, I feel like it's I mean, if there's one thing, I mean, I cover a lot of the gossipy stuff, but I feel like calling people out on misbehavior and whatnot, it's like important to know who your leaders are. So that's part of why I launched this website.
Totally. And like, I remember when this Swalwell stuff started coming out, and as my friends were really the people that broke that story. And I was kind of dipping my toe in, because I didn't know the full scope, but I knew that there was, where there's smoke, there's fire. And my friends were like, Loren, it's really bad. So without knowing, I was like, hey, Swalwell, he's not it. And people were attacking everyone, especially these whistleblowers, and myself included, saying like, you know, why now? You're just a mouthpiece for another candidate. You're being paid. And the answer is like, people have been saying this for a while, but maybe now people are finally ready to listen. And other people are speaking up.
An element to that. Because I also think, I mean, there have been stories. I broke a lot of news on a story. There was a congressman in Texas, Tony Gonzalez, who ended up ultimately stepping down the same week Eric Swalwell did, who had been having an affair with a rapper that the text message showed he pressured into, and then she, in like really depressing stories, self-immolated and died. And like, I think for months I had been talking to people like down in Texas and reaching out to people. And I think a lot of the times, like when the stakes are there and it looks like somebody's really going to win their race and there's going to be zero repercussions, people are finally ready to speak out. I mean, I feel like people get hit on timing a lot, but I don't know that that's necessarily a fair criticism, because I think when the stakes are real, people are finally ready to listen and people are finally ready to speak out.
And the reality too was, I think Republicans were ready to kind of break that story after their timeline was going to be after he was made the Democratic nominee. So, or, you know, not Democratic because we have the jungle primary, but once he was the nominee. So it was like, okay, let's get rid of him while we can. And he's not fit. And to me, it's like, okay, there's character flaws if you're cheating on your partner and whatnot, but it is a whole nother level of violent and dangerous when you're abusing your power to sleep with your staffers and also drugging women, because women have literally nothing to gain from sharing that. They are on the receiving end of harassment, attacks, all the things. So so it doesn't surprise me. And it was
so many of these people like run for higher office, like even when they're in the House. Like, I mean, getting elected to the House is hard enough, but like, know they have this kind of baggage. It's like, oh well, I should run for president, I should run for governor, I should run for Senate, and like stuff starts to pour out. And I mean, it's like, and I feel like members of Congress never learn from each other. Like this week, there was a guy who announced he's no longer running for re-election, Chuck Edwards, who was hitting on his staff and like buying them pink guns and like sending. This guy sent like 3 pints of ice cream to this girl's house when she was like not feeling well. I'm like, who has freezer room for that? But also weird.
Yeah,
it's people who are also weird. I mean, not all of them. There are some good people in Congress, but I feel like there is definitely kind of like there are a disproportion of strange people. I feel like you have to be a little weird to be like, I should be the voice for hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, there's definitely like a sociopathic element to it, but I think it takes a special type of sociopath to know you've done all these things, continue to do these things, and I just remember watching video after video of Eric Swalwell coming out, using his wife as a prop, doing all these things, being like, I couldn't have possibly done this. I'm a family guy. And it was just like, you're full of shit. We know it.
Well, it's
and then
believe women until it's like, don't believe women when it comes to me. It's like,
yeah. So back to Katie Miller. I want to know more about how this story came about. What are the specifics that you know? Because Katie Miller, not too long ago, was tweeting, you know, I don't believe women, which is a great way to start. And then went on to say, but I believe them because Eric Swalwell and his interns and all of that is the worst kept secret on the Hill. And then it turns out she was one of those interns. Like, do you know much about, was this a consensual relationship? Because Katie Miller has not denied it at this point. She's contributing to the conversation and interacting with it. Like, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, from my understanding, people in that orbit, she was young, it was consensual. I mean, I think in retrospect, probably wouldn't go there situation from people I know that are friendly with her. But was consensual. And I mean, I guess there's an argument with, I mean, there's a big argument just in the Hill in general right now on whether members of Congress should be able to date staff in other offices at all, just because of the power dynamic. But from my understanding, it was consensual. And I mean, I think back in the day, I mean, even she was a Hill staffer and back in an intern, I feel like she was working for more moderate offices. And I feel like the polarization was maybe like bipartisan dating was a little bit more prevalent. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, when I heard it, I was like, what? So it's, yeah, I feel like few relationship pairings kind of shocked me. That one I was like, oh.
Yeah. Ugh, gross. Match made in hell. And do you know how long this went on for?
So my understanding was only like a few times, like I hung out a few times. It wasn't like a serious thing. And he was texting her and then got engaged shortly afterwards. So that was kind of the timeline I was given on that.
Do you have any other tea for us? Any other tea in the works or any other recent drops?
Let's see. I should have some good ones coming this week. So I broke a story a few weeks back on, there was like a Congressman, Abe Hamadeh, who was like living with his male staffer and going on vacation with him. And there was like mistreatment in the office. And there's like some new details that I'm getting that I'm still working on verifying, but we should have like a pretty banger story coming out in the next week or two.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like I get so much gossip. It's hard to keep it all straight. So I got to go through all my notes and figure out, it's triaging which gossip needs to get out there first. I mean, campaign season.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Miller stories are a fan favorite around here because, you know, he's somebody who makes everyone else's private business, their family lives, his business by, you know, kidnapping and leading the strategy for the kidnapping of our Latino neighbors. So I've also heard recently there was an interview with Hunter Biden where he went on Don Lemon's show and was saying without saying, like it was a wink, wink, I'll make a, you know, kind of leave you some breadcrumbs of clues around people on the Hill and in DC, in prominent figures in the administration that are in heterosexual marriages, but playing for the other side or experimenting or playing around. And one of those names was Stephen Miller, that Stephen Miller was named as somebody who may be, you know, getting a little freaky with some people on Grindr potentially. Have you heard any of those rumors?
I mean, I've heard the rumors. I don't have anything confirmed and definitely don't want to get myself sued by,
yeah.
But, I mean, I will say that like people in marriages in the closet in DC is definitely not like it's more prevalent than one would think. I feel like I've got a lot of gay friends where I've seen DMs firsthand from a lot of members of Congress. Ooh. And I want to like, yeah, it's
any clues? Anyone?
I mean, I don't want to like out anyone if they're not doing anything well.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Yeah. There's definitely been like a couple members of Congress, people that have worked in the admin. I mean, it's definitely a real thing. I've seen the DMs. So it's and like I love gay guys. I love to shop. I love hanging with them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like it becomes more of a story when it's like, yeah, they're doing that
rights away from
like you're voting against exactly what you're doing. So I feel like that's when it's like I don't feel like bad writing about it because it's like it's the hypocrisy that's the story. I feel like people's personal lives are their personal lives, but if you're
totally
right, that should be called out.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about people who are just, doing their thing in private and peace. I'm more interested in the people who are forward facing, fighting to strip rights away from queer folks while also participating in queer sex or whatever they're doing. Another like interesting one for us is Kash Patel and his girlfriend. There was rumors, and again, not confirmed. I'm not that close to DC by proxy or physically, but I've heard a bunch of mumblings about Kash Patel couple weeks back potentially being in rehab, getting help for his alcohol and various other substance abuses. And there's a lot of theories around him and his relationship. Anything interesting you've heard, unconfirmed or at all, about
So
him?
I mean, I feel like he's definitely caught a lot of heat for like using official resources to go travel around. She's got a country singer. She actually previously worked for Abe Hamadeh, the guy that I wrote the story on the other day. But I mean, I feel like he's got, and like, I mean, the public drinking, I feel like he definitely got called into the White House, and I feel like got scolded on that semi recently, but not sure on the rehab front. But I know that he's definitely gotten some heat, and there were some people that were like very not happy with the, given his position, kind of public demeanor there. So
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many rumors that, like, I mean, there were all sorts of rumors floating around that if Todd Blanche gets confirmed, that he might be out, but unconfirmed. But I've been digging into that. We'll see.
Okay. And what about Pete Kegsbreath? We also hear that he's got, I mean, he's also presented himself to be a drunk mess over the years. And have you crossed paths with him in your life as a journalist too?
So I haven't really interacted with him much firsthand. Like, I'm up on Capitol Hill every day. I deal a lot with White House people, but he's one I don't really know personally. Like, I mean, I talk to a lot of members of Congress that are dealing with him regularly, but he's one I feel like I from like firsthand just interactions can't give you a full vibe check just because I don't know him that well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely no shortage of rumors floating around on stuff. I mean, there was like a wild Oppo file covering that during the whole confirmation process, and for a while I thought it was going to make it through, but ultimately, yeah, managed to get in there.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the chat and see if the chat has any questions for Julie Grace. Somebody said definitely a cokehead. The Lincoln Pool. Oh man, what a journey that's been.
Okay. But it's like my Roman Empire. The guy that with like the reflecting pool, just his entire aesthetic of the guy that got the contract for that is like something. It's like
It's like a bad Sopranos character.
I'm like, this cannot be a real human.
Yeah, and it's like, I try to talk to people who are not as tapped into politics about it. And I'm like, they want you to fear democratic socialist policies. They want you to fear affordable health care and child care as a public good. Meanwhile, if we really want to talk about fraud, they're funneling how much money to this literal cartoon character looking mafia man to ruin the...
Looks like an overweight Gomez Adams. It's like the wildest.
Insane. But, yeah, he is. Yeah. In the staff. So
sometimes.
Somebody's asking, so was
hero drama with over like her potentially getting fired over the guy that they were accusing of vandalism is also like wild. So we'll see how much longer she's around.
And meanwhile, that was an Olympic athlete who's in his 50s or 60s, if I recall correctly, and he was on a 50 or 60 mile bike ride. He's an endurance athlete. He was on a stroll, and he just kind of rode on by and dipped his hand in. When I was in DC last, I was like, I'm not getting anywhere near that water because the feds will have me in a windowless cage in no time. But that was crazy that they did that to him.
I think it was RFK Jr. that like he was like, he might be the first recipient of that weaponization fund.
Oh my God. So people are asking, was Katie in a relationship when this Swalwell went down? Do you know, timeline-wise?
She was single at the time. So, I mean, she was like early 20s, still interning. So not dating Steven yet is what everyone who told me in that.
Okay, let's see what else we got. What other questions y'all have for Julie Grace? The reflecting pool. Oh gosh. I often say Stephen Miller is like living down there in the dwelling in the reflecting pool, feasting off of the algae. Let's see. all the skeletons in the closet. The fucking. They're rolling in a little slow. People are asking, is it true Stephen eats mayo? What are like any wild stories you've heard about Stephen Miller out on the town, or other things that you've heard about Stephen Miller?
I mean, I feel like there's definitely like I've talked to people within the White House that get like frustrated with like how extreme some of the immigration policies are. But like I feel like that since first admin, I feel like I'd see him out more, like running into him in social settings. But I feel like now that they've got like a bunch of children, I'd see him out and about less. So I feel like it's a little more boring. I mean, they've had all those protesters outside their house, which was like drama for a while there.
Well, it was like sidewalk chalk that said immigrants belong here and DEI matters. And it ran them out of Arlington, right? Now they were living on a military base temporarily.
Yeah, so that was the whole thing. And then there were like all the rumors that Elon Musk, sure and confirmed, was living there. But yeah, haven't been able to fully confirm that. That was like a rumor floating around for a while, which is kind of a wild one.
So have you seen the Katie Miller podcast with the episode she did with Elon Musk?
So I haven't watched the full thing. I like saw the snippets on Twitter, but I feel like I probably should at some point.
If you just watch, the clips are enough for me, but I've watched a decent amount of it. The body language between the two and the tone of voice that she takes when they're talking, she's like whisper flirting and speaking so softly. And it's just a very interesting dynamic. And Katie Miller was even tweeting about Elon Musk on Mother's Day and coming to the defense of Tesla and really like going out of her way for this man. So I think some people are speculating that like if there's going to be more tea coming out, because there was already those rumors about an affair potentially with Elon Musk and Katie Miller, that might be the next one to drop.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I haven't been able to confirm anything or like haven't done a ton of digging on that front, but I have definitely gotten like a lot of members of Congress texting me, asking me what's going on there. So it's funny because like Washington's just like such a giant high school of group texts.
That's why I picture it.
So it's truly like, I mean, a high school might be giving Congress too much credit, but yeah, it kind of function that way of like how gossipy and like how shit talky everybody is with everyone else. But it's like 50-year-old men that are balding.
Ugh, gross. Okay, we'll do like one more question, and then would love for you to tell people where they can find you. And so, Dark Sunray, do you think there's any real attraction in the Capitol, or are these all just power grabs, like grubby power grabs?
Like attraction, like between staffers and members, or like, well, I mean, I feel like there've been like a couple couples of like members of Congress ultimately ended up dating. Like they've got like Beth Van Dyne and Rich McCormick, who ended up like spotted holding hands at the Republican Study Committee, and then now they're just like out publicly dating each other. So I guess people can find love in a public place.
Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski.
That was for sure. Yeah. She's got the divorce now. That's happening. So I wonder if he'll stick together with his wife. We'll see. I mean, that one's definitely been talked about. Yeah. That's like one of the more brazen examples.
And then I guess like a closing note before we head it over to you. Mitch McConnell, what is going on with tumbling Mitch? Any leaked insider info there?
So he's been out for like a while, and like I kept getting text messages like, "Oh, we think he's dead," and I talked to his office pretty regularly. And so I guess he's currently out of physical rehab and is supposed to be back mid-September, is what I was told earlier. So we'll see. It's I mean, he's definitely, I mean, just kind of seeing he's looks so much more frail than even like a year ago. So it's, I mean, it kind of amazes me that how many of these people have like, I'm still at the Capitol building and I'm like 80 years old. I'm like, somebody please put me out of my misery. But not that I don't love being up there.
Let it go, Mitch. Let it go. Let God take you.
Like people that are up there and like, why are you still sticking around?
And insane. Well, JulieGrace, thank you so much for making our day, making our night. It's Coachella here now that we've got this story, even though we know it didn't technically cross paths at, the Stephen timeline. It's still like, in a time of terrible news all the time. This is the win we all needed. So thank you for delivering that to us. Where can people find you?
All right. So SourceSays.News, we've got stories pretty much every day, and then the newsletter on Thursdays, and then we've got a once a week podcast. So definitely come check it out. And we're on Instagram, YouTube, X, Blue Sky, all the usual socials.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It was so lovely chatting with you, and thanks for making everyone's day.
Glad I could do it.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. What a joyous occasion, y'all. I love to see the worst people ever getting taken down. Truly, truly, truly the best of times. What do we got here? Thank you, Dark Sunray, for modding. So fun. What a great time. Make sure you guys support SourceSays.News. Go over there, follow her social channel, subscribe. Will is good. You know, it's been tough, but we'll be back with some more soon. All right, y'all. Thanks for tapping in. Ciao for now.